Namaste friends. This is a special video on request by a good friend of mine who is also a strong supporter of our foundation, and she has posted a question that how we should look or rather deal with death, or rather the perception about death. What is that we see in the event of a death? Okay, so I thank you, Caroline Wilkinson, for posting such a question. So with great humility, I will try to attempt to answer this question. I am not a Vedic scholar, but my knowledge isn't too shallow as well. So I will once again, I'll attempt to convey the perceptions of death and how it is seen from the Hindu tradition or the Vedantic tradition. And if there's any inadvertent mistakes, my sincere apologies. So I seek blessings from my Guru, Swami Vivekananda, before answering this question. Now, when someone passes on, normally, and it doesn't matter where we are on this planet, okay, it's regardless of our cultural upbringing, our social status, our financial status, our education background, it really doesn't matter. But when someone close or someone whom we knew passes on, the first thing that will come up in our mind is a thought. Okay, the thought is that this person who has died is not going to come back again. That's the end. Okay, with the end it's a full stop, and this person is not going to come back again. That's the first thought. Of course, subsequently the thought follows with emotions. The emotions of sadness, sorrow, grief, resentment, sometimes even denial. Okay, so that is a very natural thing. It's hard coded in our genes, right? Only people who has understood and practice spirituality, and people who has very strong spiritual knowledge or spiritual experience can absorb such emotions. Okay, it's a very strong force. The pain, the misery, the sorrow which comes in the form of feelings is a very strong one. It's like a tsunami of emotions. It drenches the whole mind, body, soul of a person. Okay, because the person at that point of time would not know what he or she is doing or how to react at that stage. Okay, let me give you an example. Someone calls you and says that, look here, there's a grave news, someone whom you knew has passed away tragically. Okay, so at that point of time, the first thought that comes to your mind is, this person is not going to be seen again, or rather, I would not have any form of connections, or this person is not going to connect with me in any forms. None. It's just gone. So now that is the first thought. Of course, that thought is, as I mentioned, just now subsequently follows with very strong emotions, which we tend to react. Sometimes, we will not be in our a proper mind. We just shut down everything that's going around us, and we go berserk, we go wild, we scream, we shriek, we do things which is beyond the social parameters. So why do we do that? Okay, so the thing here is that there is a fallacy to this. Okay, it is a very common fallacy, and this fallacy is not bad. I mean, the thought that we are not going to see a person is very natural, because that is how our experience, our collective consciousness is at play at that point of time. Say someone close to me passes on, I may react the same way with you as well. And it doesn't matter where you are in this world. You can be in New York or wherever in this part of the world, wherever, it doesn't matter. But because both of us share a common connection, we both of us will think that yes, this person is gone, and there's no way that this person is coming back, or rather communicating this person. That's the last. That is why emotions comes in, because we are definite that that's the end of that person. That is the last thing of that person. There is no other residual experience with regards to that person. That's about it. Okay, because we hold that thought very strongly in our mind that we would not get associated, we would not get connected, we would not simply able to talk to the person anymore, and that means the end of the person. And that is why all the emotion starts to kick in. Okay, it is very common. Even I would do that, right? Anybody could do that, except for the fact that if we know the mechanics of death, all right, how does death work, how the process and all that, the times to heal, the emotional convalescence would be faster. Of course, we'll be back on our feet faster than we would normally be, right? Because we understand the mechanics. Now we don't understand the mechanics. When someone dies, someone close to us dies, someone in the family dies, we are devastated, totally devastated, right? And it's inevitable. Okay, so once again, there is a fallacy. There's a fallacy to this. This is something which is, it's not to say wrong, because these feelings of sadness and grief and resentment and denial is very natural. Okay, so I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm simply saying that there is something else. There is a different perspective that we can look at it. Okay, so let's see what are things that makes the process of death. The process of death is a very vital step. It's a very, very important step to get closer to liberating our soul. I'll explain to you why I call it liberating, or why the Vedas clearly defines the word freeing oneself, releasing oneself. Simply means that we are trapped. Yes, we are trapped. We are trapped in the prison of our body. Our body is merely a vessel, a transport. Okay, which is why the Hindu traditions, when someone dies, the ritual is to cremate the body, because the body has no use. The body is merely a transport, a vessel. Simple as that. What we need to understand here is that the soul is of importance. Okay, soul consciousness, which means that the body that we see daily on the mirror is a device for us to release the Atma or the soul. Okay, so we need to make sure that this device, aka the human body, is maintained, okay, physiologically, mentally, and also following the dharmic ways, or rather the virtuous ways, the rightful ways, the righteousness and all that. So in combination of doing good things, or virtue or dharma, maintaining a very healthy body, and also conditioning the mind that everything that we do is for the reasons to release the Atma back to its source, back to Paramatma, they call it, the Supreme Being, is what we need to be conscious about constantly, or at least once a while think about it. So that is why I call it the soul consciousness. That is very important. So now that you know that the body is merely a transport, and what's important to understand is that the soul within is the most important element as an identity. Okay, of course, there's a huge topic here. We can talk about ego. We can talk about ahamkara, the identity within, and so on. But in summary, let's understand that the soul is important. The body is merely a transport, a vessel. So when we die, we will, of course, that is why it's important to do the Shraddha Karya. Shraddha means the rituals, the rites that we must perform to send or to release the soul from the material body is very important. Without doing so, the soul would be lingering, right? And that creates a lot of problems, because these souls would be desperate to hear their judgment. However, because they were not properly sent to the judgment area, they will be tormenting others. They would create so many problems to people, which is what the term evil spirits are then referred to. But let's say that the body is properly sent, okay, properly done, the Shraddha Karya is done properly, and the body is sent to hear the judgment. Now, what is this judgment? So when we reach the judgment area, we will be then judged with our karmic data. Okay, what sort of karmic or actions that we have done in the previous, or rather in that birth. So let's say that you have done more bad karma, then the next course of action is to send you back to be born again, to pay that karma, because nothing goes unpaid. Whatever we have done, good or bad, must be paid. But if you have done a lot of good things, if you have followed the true dharmic way, you have done all righteousness, and you have avoided or stayed away from evil sins and what we call as papa, P-A-P-A, then you would be released. You will be released and you will be sent to the Supreme Being, or the Paramatma, which is ultimately the goal for every one of us. So now that you understand the mechanics, or rather the process of death, so if you are going through a emotional turmoil right now, if someone has passed on or a family member has died, this is perception that you must have. Always feel that the one who has died is going to have his or her judgment. It doesn't matter the one who has died is young, is old, is died tragically, or a victim, or died in a war or battle. It really doesn't matter, or died from natural disasters, terrorism, whatever it is. Always think, or rather have this thought behind you, that he or she is going to have the judgment. Okay, depending on how he or she has done, he will be then be judged, and then be sent accordingly back to earth to be born again, if a lot of bad karmas has been done, to repay the karma or the karmic debts, or if he or she has done a lot of good things, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of selfless efforts has been done, or in service to people, then he or she will be then sent to the Creator Himself. Okay, so that is something that we should have in our minds. Next time when you go to a funeral, always have these things. Perhaps you could share this detail to the one to the family who's feeling the loss, who's going through that emotional turmoils, you can tactfully and clearly define the process of death, and that would certainly release a certain pressure from them, because if we don't know, or if we don't understand even this process of samsara, the process of death and rebirth, if we don't understand this, there will be nothing to cling on. Correct? We just feel that life that's it. Life has an ending. There's nothing else after life. When someone dies in a car crash, it is just simply tragic. It's just too bad. But the truth is, and we have been living in a fallacy for a long time, but the truth is, death has a process. Death has to go through. Death must happen. Without death, the person would not be able to release his or her soul, which ultimately would be then trapped. If even worse, if the body is not properly blessed or properly perform the rituals of death, if the soul remains in the world between the judgment and the human and our world, the dimension between these two, then that's even worse. The soul will be lingering, the soul will be searching. That is why they say these souls are pitiful. These evil spirits are actually very, it's a very sad case for the evil spirits, because they don't have a choice. They keep moving around searching for an exit to enter that gates of judgment. Okay, so they will be seeking all this, and one time, because time exists in every dimensions, not only our dimension, it also have this dimension on other in other dimensions as well. So in due time, these lingering souls will turn into exasperation. They totally get exasperated, and then they get frustrated, just like us. Because you must remember, the soul has two sides to it. One side is the pure divine side, which is called the Paramatma, the Supreme Being. The other side is called the Jivatma. Jivatma is an impression of life. So these souls which are lingering, which couldn't find the judgment gate or the judgment space, would have Jivatma very strong in it. So this Jivatma will turn into evil spirits, and thus tormenting everyone else or everything that comes in contact, so that somebody would release them to judgment. So not to get into many things now, because my mind now is just like, there's just so many things I can talk about it, and it's very easy for me to sway away from the actual topics. For that I apologize. I also apologize for the background noise that's going through. It's very heavy rain here. I don't have a proper studio. I'm just doing it from my room. So my apologies on that. So back to the death process. So now that we understand that death has a reason to it, it creates an upliftment, okay, a certain release of stress to people, or rather it finds equanimity or closure, a little bit of closure to the family member or to the person who's suffering emotionally. Okay, so with all that said, let me just give you a brief summary now. The summary is that normally we would think if someone dies, that's the ending. But actually it has a process. Death is simply a process that the soul would be then traveling to another plane where the soul will be judged based on its karmic debts. The soul will be judged and then will be sent accordingly either to the Parabrahma, the Supreme Being, or back to earth, where the soul would need to repay its debt. And in essence, what I wanted to convey in this video is, and this is very important, so the person who has died in your life, you have missed someone. When you think about that person, you will be kindling, or you will be recalling back the memories that you have. Like how you went to have a lunch with that person, how you went for a movie, how the pleasures of holding the hand of that person, the pleasures of sitting together, the company that you had with that person, the laugh, the cry, the enjoyment, the sorrow, all that experience will be coming into your mind, which is why we tend to get very depressed. Some even go into serious mental conditions as well due to this. So what I'm trying to say is that have these soul conscious meanings, okay? That the body that you see in front of your mirror, or the body that you see, the dead body that you see in your family or anybody, when you go and see a dead body, it is merely a transport, a vessel. His or her soul remains for eternity. His soul never dies. So if you can understand that the true identity, let's say me, Prakash is the person here, Prakash is the one who's talking right now. But what you have to understand is Prakash is basically a soul inside, a formless, a shapeless, a colorless, and a supremeness inside Prakash is the real identity. Whatever that you see in the form of pictures of Prakash is merely a vessel. If you can understand, or if you can grasp, it will take some time for you to grasp this concept, but if you can grasp this concept that everybody that you see in front of you, their true identity is the soul inside, not that physical appearance that you see outside. And that's a start. And that changes everything. That changes the entire perception. Right? So, of course, I'm not saying that when someone passes on, you would be able to just take it like that. That is rubbish. Someone dies in my family, I would be also devastated. However, there is something to cling on now, because I can always think that that person who has died is going through a transition, is going through a different realm. Okay. And that soul is the one that is ultimate, which reminds me of a verse that goes asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asatoma sadgamaya means lead us from the unreal to the real. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, lead us from darkness to light. Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya means lead us from death to immortality. See the last line, it says Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya, lead us from death to immortality. What does that mean? Immortality doesn't mean that the physical body doesn't perish, it goes for hundreds of years and all that. That's basically Hollywood movies, right? The essence is we must understand that the body will perish. The soul is immortal. That is why it means by Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya, lead us from death to immortality. So once again, have the soul consciousness within. Think that the person has a soul. The soul is that ultimate identity. When you think about, say, your friend, don't think about the body, don't think about the physical appearance. Think of your friend, that there is a soul within. If you have that understanding, then the closure is faster. As I mentioned just now, the emotional convalescence becomes very shortened. So that's my view about death, or rather that's my little knowledge about how death is seen in the Vedic, in the Hindu and Vedic traditions. I please, my sincere apologies if I've said something wrong. Please, I accept comments, and once again, if there's any inadvertent mistakes, I'm truly sorry. And I also ask forgiveness from my Guru, Swami Vivekananda, for giving me guidance to complete this video. So once again, thank you, and I hope this video would bring a lot of peace to people, or at least some form, or maybe just a little bit of closure in one's life. And of course, not to forget, thank you, Caroline, for posting such wonderful questions. I hope I've done a little, a small favor, somewhat of a favor to the lost souls. Yeah, that's my video, and thank you. Namaste.